This is the Chapter 4 Q&A.
We went on social media, asked, and we got a bunch of questions from people, which is cool.
It is cool.
It's nice that
they care.
Yeah.
Do they care?
No, they don't. Nope.
Let's start with the first question here. Actually, should we tell how this whole thing got started?
When you say whole thing, what does that mean?
Our band. Our whole Chapters thing.
Yeah, I think there's a question for that. Josh and Jerad, how did the two of you meet?
How did we meet?
So I knew of you from your band years ago, and then I kept coming across records that had noticeably good vocals and vocal production. And so I had your name, and then I was producing a record, and that's actually how I think we met, was I called you up and just said, hey, I've got this project. So I brought you in. We worked on vocals on that project.
Then we did another project together.
Yeah, from that point on, anything that I produced, you were just part of the package. Like,
thanks,
great,
man.
I'll produce it, and then Josh will come in and do vocals. And then we got to a point where we realized...
I was producing a record out in Nashville, and we did a full day of pre-production with a bunch of good musicians, and we got so much done in one day that it actually kind of ticked me off because, you know, when you're producing stuff, sometimes there's a lot of work to be done, and I don't know, it could just be frustrating sometimes. And we got so much done in this one day that I was like, I need to just call some friends that I know are great musicians, and let's get something done quickly and bring a little life back into music. And that's when I called you, kind of out of the blue, like, hey, we don't really know each other that well, but do you want to get in a room and just play some music and see what happens? And that day was kind of life-changing for me because it just brought back life into writing. We walked away with, what, 3 songs?
Yeah, 3 songs.
Yeah. And thus was the birth of Chapters.
One of the other questions was, how did you come up with the name, Chapters?
Yeah. Originally, in that time of us trying to figure out kind of where we were headed, we were experimenting with a lot of different styles of music. We have a lot of different influences.
Right.
And so we would get together and write songs that were really energetic and fun, and some more that are super mellow and vibey. And I don't know. I think the idea was originally call the band Chapters and put out different chapters, like kind of mirroring different chapters of life lyrically, and different sounds, different seasons of life, that sort of thing.
We were initially thinking each release would be like a different genre. So we could do one that's just all folk, and one that's all cinematic, and one that's all electronic or whatever. It hasn't really worked out that way, which is totally fine.
I think what we did is we just put them all together.
And that is more satisfying. And there's logistics too. Like, if you make every release sound completely like a different band, that's not beneficial to anybody.
For sure.
The whole Chapters concept was just that we would write out of where we're at in our life, and each group of songs would speak to that chapter.
Yeah. It came at a good time for me too, because I was just entering into a season where we were taking on raising this little girl and becoming guardians over her, which can be kind of messy, kind of emotional. And I have hundreds of songs written from that era, from that time. And then right after that, going to the hospital with Rowan, it's like, I don't know, these different seasons kind of just write the songs for you, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Here, I'm going to ask you a question. Where do you guys see this band in the future? Touring? Question mark?
Here's the thing. We get asked, probably more than anything else, we get asked about touring. And every time I'm asked about that, it's just such an honor that somebody would want to go spend their time, spend money to see us perform these songs. We both love playing live.
Yeah.
We've spent a lot of our lives playing live.
Still do it.
I think what it comes down to is a couple different things. The music of Chapters is very, very layered.
Yeah.
So if we were to do this live, we would want to do it
with 47 people on stage.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We'd want to do it really big, and we want to run a lot of rehearsal.
All of this it's giving me anxiety. That sounds awful. I'm getting sweaty.
And it sounds awesome, but I don't think we could handle that right now. And it wouldn't make sense financially or time-wise for us to do that kind of commitment. And we wouldn't be satisfied if we didn't do that. But the other thing is, we both have wives that we love and marriages that we want to keep. and we have young kids that need us at home.
Absolutely.
And so traveling a lot at this point is just not something that we're looking to do. But you never know. Live concerts or a tour or something is not out of the question in the future.
No. How do you decide what to do on alt versions when you have limitless options? It's a great question. I think we found that every song has multiple expressions. You can have a very simple, stripped down acoustic or piano and a vocal, and it makes you emote a certain way. You add on 500 layers, which we tend to do, and it's a completely different emotion. So with the alts, actually, I think it started with Write My Name off chapter 2. We took out everything and just had the piano, and it just had a whole different feel to it. So we're like, well, let's do that for all the songs.
Do you guys know how much your songs get used in wedding videos?
I don't really know how much they're being used in wedding videos, but I do know quite a bit.
We love talking with these wedding videographers and building relationships with them. And we've got a great relationship with MusicBed, which is very connected to that community. It's very exciting and inspiring to see how these songs are reinterpreted creatively for all kinds of videos. We've seen NASA videos and commercials and travel videos and blogs. It is amazing, our music getting used in the wedding industry the way it is. It's not what we set out to do.
Right.
But how cool is that, right?
It is. It's awesome.
How is your daughter doing now?
She is, she's doing well. It's an interesting road being this side of the transplant life. We have to learn a lot, but thankful for every breath in her body, you know?
At what age did you guys learn how to play guitar and bass?
Ooh.
I'm curious to hear what you say.
When I was 13, I went and saw MxPx on their first tour. And I was just like, that's it. That is what I'm going to do. I'm going to learn bass and I'm going to sing. And I got my parents to buy me a bass like that week. And I had the little cassette tape and a sticker and just locked myself in a room for 2 years. Figured it out. I never looked back. That was what I was going to do.
Yeah.
How about you?
My dad is a multi-instrumentalist. He was in bands when he was younger. My older brothers played bass and guitar, and music was always around. My dad had a great vinyl record collection. We were always listening to music. So I got the bug real early on and just fell in love with the whole thing. Jimi Hendrix records and Beatles and the Kinks and the Animals. And basically, I was in second or third grade probably, and I started playing drums. Then I picked up guitar about a year later, and then piano and all that. And I didn't study music until college and did jazz and
You studied that stuff?
Yeah.
I did not know that.
Yeah, composition and conducting and all of that.
It's pretty wild.
You know.
That makes me feel very, very dumb. I studied nothing. I just listened to a lot of records growing up.
Question. Do you guys write the chorus first and build off that? Or what's your general song process?
They are all different.
Yeah. Either one of us has an instrumental and then we write lyric melody out of that to match the vibe of what that instrumental is. Or we start with a simple chord structure, maybe a guitar part and a vocal lyric.
Yeah.
And then we try to match musically what's in that lyric and place that. And then there's variation among that. But when it comes to lyrics and theme and all of that, what comes first? Is it usually the chorus, the main thesis of the song, or can it just be a little fragment of a verse? Or what?
It is all different. There's a song right now that we're working on that I only had the first line. And I knew I wanted to build something off that, but I had no idea what. I mean, every song is different.
Yeah.
But I get really, really inspired when you send me random stuff, especially when you think it's lame and bad. I'm like, you idiot, this is amazing. And then I just build something out of it. And it works.
All right, here's another question. How do you find unity in production when creatives are so uniquely different? Outstanding question. Actually, from the artist that drew the guitar on Reset.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That is a good question.
I think it's several things. We realized that first session that we worked together that it just coincidentally is a good personality match, and that helps. There's also mutual respect, and so that seems important when you're working with somebody else, and you can navigate things if you admire what the other person brings and how they do that. But then, even with all of that, we tend to be able to, we're willing to not win everything.
We definitely don't agree on every decision.
Right.
But I can say confidently as two grown adults that we can look at something and both agree that my ideas are just a little bit better than some of your ideas. So we usually go with mine. The next question that we've got here is, what inspired you to start a podcast?
We started the podcast because we were trying to bring added value and to enhance the experience of listening to the music. We get asked questions from people sometimes and trying to figure out how we can best answer some of those questions. And we also really enjoy podcasts where artists talk about their process and things. But we know that this isn't going to be like some massive podcast thing, but we're just trying to add value to people that enjoy the music.
Yeah. I think every song tells a story.
Right.
And looking at our catalog, for us personally, they all mean something very specific. So I think we can dive into some of that stuff, and it's really special for people. And we can also dive into some of the just the behind the scenes of how things are made and how things sound when you solo it. That stuff's really interesting.
I think it's interesting for non-musicians as well. Anybody that's curious about how creative process happens. But
my mother loves it.
Yeah. I've always pushed on you and said that these stories behind these songs, you need to tell these stories. And we've been trying to find a format that works for us. And I think the podcast format works. Yeah. Oh, this is a great question, though. What are some of the things you do to get past lyrical blocks?
I completely remove myself from it. My latest enjoyment is roller coasters. I'll go to Disneyland or Knott's Berry Farm and just go for a couple hours, get out of my head. You can sit in a room all day and work on one line, and that will kill you. It will kill me. I can't hang with that. So I'll just do that, or listen to other music, and I get really inspired by songs that I listen to and artists I love.
I've got one more question for you. Do you guys write melody first with nonsense words and fill in the real lyrics later?
I do that sometimes. I've sent you stuff that is absolutely ridiculous. Mm-hmm. I try not to, though, because a lot of times you'll fall in love with melodies that maybe you do like that, or even the sound of words, and it can really put blinders up when you're actually writing. But sometimes it's really useful. So yeah, we do that every once in a while. But sometimes I do that and then I just get lazy and I don't finish the song, and it's like, oh yeah, we have to finish the third verse or something, So I've been trying out of a place of discipline to actually finish a song, but that can be difficult. So do what you got to do. Mm-hmm. Here's a question: will Jerad be singing more songs in the future?
Hopefully not. We are working on one right now, though. I started the chorus, and we're leaving those vocals.
I retracted you.
And
But yeah, no, for sure. I actually like your voice a lot. I would love for you to sing more.
Yeah, I'm in there, but just low enough that you can't hear it.
We'll get him in there someday. What's coming for Chapter 6?
We've been working on some other genres and other styles that might end up in the Chapters world in Chapter 6. Some pop stuff and things that are a little bit outside. So you never know. I mean, it might end up being its own project as well.
Yeah.
But
we have a lot of songs to record. Mm-hmm. We have a lot of music to put out, and you can expect a lot from us.
Yeah.
We ain't going anywhere.
There'll be more on the podcast, but it'll probably be a couple weeks, and we'll release Chapter 5 episodes as right around the same time that we release that album.
Great. Well said. Yeah. All right,
So eloquent.
let's go get some lunch.
Thanks for listening. We have a lot more of these episodes coming soon, so make sure to hit subscribe and follow. You can always find the latest information on the podcast and all of our new releases at wearechapters.com.